more secrets revealed, and rats making out with cockroaches. This is the best timeline ever! DC Universe's Doom Patrol, Episode 15, the season finale. Review and breakdown. Hey y'all, it's your Twisted Girl Next Door here, and we have made it to the finish line of what has been one of the most chaotic, dark, and humorous shows I have ever watched in my life. Oh my gosh, what a journey. But we are here at the season finale of DC Universe's Doom Patrol, Episode 15, Ezekiel Patrol. Okay, so if you're new here, oh my gosh, where have you been? Oh my gosh. But if you're new here, this is the way it goes. I do my overall thoughts of the episode, as in my overall thoughts of the episode, the major happenings in the episode and what I thought about that, ship talk because I do love talking about relationships, and also I do comic book talk because this show, as you may know or not know, is based off of a comic book series, so I like to do the comparison. And then because this is the season finale, I wanted to do kind of a season wrap up, some of my hopes for the next season, and predictions, which will probably be very far off from what actually is going to happen, but I'm going to give it a go. Overall, this season finale was a culmination of everything that this season has been thus far, right? The whole vibe of the season, which is humor, darkness, and above all else, heart. Or more so maybe in the mix of everything else, heart. In the mix of the darkness, in the mix of the humor, of the dark humor. This episode, I think because of the vibe of being, as Mr. Nobody has said, more character introspective, maybe premium cable stuff, I think this was fitting. They came to be very much a team at the end of this, and it just showed that they kind of need to be a team, because at the end of the day, anything else they would do would fall short of what they really want to be doing, which is kind of being heroes, for lack of a better term, for our Doom Patrol, dysfunctional grouping of people. And I think it left things open for a really interesting season 2, right? Like, certain things were left open, certain things were sort of concluded, but I think if nothing else, I think this kind of showed a shift in the next chapter of their journey, right? Like, we went through a lot of the individual stuff with them, and now we're going through them as a team, dealing with this new development of Niles' daughter, oh my gosh, and other happenings. So overall, I was satisfied with this season finale. The aftermath of Niles' confession. So what we got in this plot point was a 6-month time jump towards the present, which is the current present of 6 months ahead, mixed in with some flashbacks of Niles dealing with taking in each of the characters, or maybe even leading up to the aftermath of their accidents and all of that other jazz. So it was kind of a somber plot point that we had to go through, because it was the aftermath. Rita and Larry are living together as roommates, and they kind of have this pact of no more hiding. Rita has become a theater teacher, which makes a lot of sense, and Larry is working with Sparky, negative energy, to get it to a point where negative energy can be outside of him for long periods of time and that he can still stay functioning. Cyborg went back to doing more cyborg stuff, but not so much in action, like on the field. Like, he's not apprehending thieves anymore to their faces. He's more so like doing more digital stuff, which maybe shows a retreat from being someone who's like totally gung-ho, let's go in all or nothing, because of what happened with Now. So now he's being more like behind the scenes, and him and Silas seem to have a cordial relationship, in the sense that they're not like totally chummy, but Silas is trying, and Vic is not necessarily turning him away. Jane is living in a bus, and she is living in the Doom Patrol bus, and she basically goes to Josh for some sort of, verification, some sort of help, because she's fallen on hard times. And Josh gives her something of a drug for metas, right? So she becomes a druggie. She becomes something of a crackhead. Cliff is sticking close to Jane in the shadows, not with Jane's like knowledge, and giving her food and by the bus and kind of just hanging out around the bus, even though he's not interacting with Jane. So he's kind of doing nothing and just kind of watching Jane. And we're getting sort of the sense that no one is actually very happy, Mr. Nobody included, because we see that he's having a ball, a solo party, being happy with his revenge that he got out of Niles by kind of making it so everyone that he loves turns against him for revenge for what he did to him by sabotaging his transformation all those years ago with the Nazi scientist guy. But it falls short, and he suddenly feels direction, like he doesn't have a direction, basically. And so what happens is Ezekiel, the cockroach, who I have been missing for the last couple episodes, shows up. Somehow he gets into the white space. He shows up, and he convinces Mr. Nobody to have a purpose, to basically have world domination. And he also gets General Whiskers or Admiral Whiskers to come up. So we have the rat there, and they form the Brotherhood of Dangerous Animals. So like I said, this was a somber point, not even very somber, because everyone wasn't completely down. Like Larry was making some progress with Sparky, and Rita was sort of making progress by being a theater teacher, and that student was just, I think her name was Amaya or something. You know, she was so rude, and it kind of annoyed me. That kid really annoyed me. Like, they were really harsh, and I guess it was supposed to sort of be played for laughs, but I was just like, ugh. Like, I just kind of wanted a scene where she gets like she falls on her face or something. Big ups for the word immortus being used. It was more so not used for a particular person, but for the Immortus project. That was nice. I had mentioned that some videos ago about Immortus being in the comics, and so this was I think a nod sort of to the idea of Niles' journey of trying to find the elixir of life, pretty much, right? But more so, instead of it being an actual persona, actual person, General Immortus, it was Niles, and the project was the Immortus project. So it's a little bit different, but I think it worked for this, and it was a nice nod. I wasn't exactly clear on the idea of why Niles was trying to do the experiment to other people for immortality. Why not necessarily do it on yourself? I mean, I guess maybe it's kind of like, yeah, you want to test the lab rats before you put it on yourself. But I feel like maybe with Rita, he kind of found the cure, even with Jane, right? He kind of found a sort of immortality with those that wouldn't be such a detriment to the body, so much so. And so it was kind of like, once he found that, why not just do it on himself? Brotherhood of Dangerous Animals, world domination, or more so, Danny domination. Okay, so the Brotherhood of Dangerous Animals, they basically kidnap Danny, an entire street, and they also kidnap, within that, Niles' daughter. Oh my gosh, Niles has a daughter. Another revelation that we kind of saw coming, sort of. I thought that it would be revealed that his wife was up in there, and we still don't know where she is, but it seems it's his daughter instead. This draws the Doom Patrol back together again. They reluctantly go to save Danny because they do care for Danny and Niles' daughter, although the tensions are still high with Niles. So they all go into the painting that Mr. Nobody has somehow kept Danny the street in. Why a painting? I'm not sure, but this is the Doom Patrol at this point. So can you really ask the logic behind some of this stuff? So everything has gone off the rails once they get there, right? Ezekiel is basically Godzilla cockroach, and he is wreaking havoc on Danny the street. And so is Whiskers, too, because the daughter has made it so that they both are large. She seems to be able to control that. And so they devise a plan. Mr. Nobody also seems to have like half of his powers there. He can't, I guess he couldn't, it seemed like he couldn't like fix it. Like once Ezekiel went off the rails and he kind of got, Mr. Nobody got kicked out of the Brotherhood of Dangerous Animals. Wow. It seemed like he couldn't get them out of there, and he was just basically letting it all go to crap for some reason. Now, I don't know if that was because he was just really depressed and just felt like, I don't feel like doing this, or it was because somehow by going into the painting his powers were dampened somehow, which would be kind of weird because he's, we've seen, or at least in the last episode, that he's kind of, I don't want to say omnipotent, like he's God or something, but he's very God-like, that he can control so much and manipulate so much that it seemed weird that somehow he would get stuck there, right? But maybe there was something weird with the reality plane by going into they sort of explained it, but not clear enough for me. Let me know in the comments if you got it a little bit clearer there than I did. So eventually the plan goes through because they all decide to go into Ezekiel, who is a cockroach. So of course he can survive almost anything, and they get out of there. Larry uses his power, I'll talk about that in a second, to get them out of there. But it would appear that they're all still tiny except for Larry. And they got Niles's daughter out of there too, who is named Dorothy Spinner, which is a comic book character from the series, which I'll get into in my comic book talk. But yes, that is Niles's daughter, and we don't see her face for reasons. And that kind of leaves us there because what we also see in that the painting that is now bare still has Beard Hunter there and Mr. Nobody. So they seem to be stuck in the painting, which once again, I'm not really clear on because Mr. Nobody is sort of all powerful. So why did that happen? And that's the season finale. I totally appreciated the ridiculous hilarity and chaos that has become the Doom Patrol brand when they got into Danny the Street. And yeah, I loved it. It was ridiculous. Ezekiel and Whiskers started making out, which was wild. I didn't even know it was going to go that way, and it totally did, and they totally showed it completely. Also, I'm so happy that Larry got to use his powers outside of Sparky in the sense of he was able to get them through. Sparky had opened something, but it was Larry's radioactive skin and power that was able to make it so that he was able to get through and get everyone else through as well. And so I really appreciated that because if you remember from some of my videos a while ago, I kept saying that the way it's been shown so far is that mainly Larry's main powers has been to sort of been an incubator for the actual powerful being, which is inside of him, which is Sparky, negative energy. So it was nice that they kind of pointed out that actually Larry on his own kind of has a gift because of his radioactive skin as well. So I appreciated that, and I thought it was good because it shows that on his own that he has usefulness on the hero side of things. I think Whiskers and Ezekiel are dead, and I don't know if I'm exactly happy about that. I kind of hope they're not. Looks like they are. Danny is now a brick, which if you remember when I highlighted a few videos ago about Danny the Street in the comics, he does end up becoming a brick for some time. So this was very much in comic book fashion, and it totally worked. He's a brick. I don't know how long he'll be a brick, but I think it was very cool that they kind of did it in that way. Ezekiel and Whiskers. It was a short-lived ship. I did not ship it. I was very much grossed out by it, but now it is gone because they are both dead. Rita and Mr. Nobody. Yeah, I'm going to count this because I felt the chemistry between them in that scene, and I thought the actors played off of each other so well, and it kind of made sense. The way that Rita talks to people and kind of her pep talks that she's given throughout the season was very in line with her, and then with the way Mr. Nobody acts, it totally meshed so well. And so I'm kind of wondering if they, if we'll get more interactions between them, because even when early on when he was doing the narration of her, she would cuss him out and they'd argue, and I never noticed it until they were actually in a physical scene one-on-one together. So I'm kind of shipping it. Maybe overall I just want Rita to get some love here, but I saw the chemistry. Jane and Cliff. It was sweet. Cliff was leaving food outside of the bus for her. I know some people don't see the romance. I know some of you are seeing the romance and you don't ship it. That's more so what seems to be emerging. I think it's fine thus far. I shipped it in the beginning. Now I'm not so sure. I do see it being a romance. I think the way it plays sometimes is that Cliff is so giving to Jane, and I know she's broken and things of that nature, but I just think it almost comes off a little, I don't want to say pathetic, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if she's giving enough back to him to really justify the kind of devotion he has to her in particular at this point. So for this comic book talk, I wanted to talk about the main character that was revealed this episode, which is Niles' daughter, Dorothy Spinner. Now, she is in the comics, and her power is to bring imaginary friends to life and to also be able to bring beings from a different reality, or if they're in a different realm, back to the reality that she's in, which I think will play a part in season 2. And that's her gifts in the book, and it seems like they are playing into that because of the imaginary friend thing, which was very much in line with what Niles' love, his wife, that woman, the cave woman, could do with as well, right? So it seems like Dorothy has taken her mother's powers. Now, I'm not sure about the whole realm thing, if they're going to play with that angle of her powers. They haven't really alluded to it that much, but I think it will play a part. And so, yeah, Dorothy is definitely in the comics, and she has a face disfigurement. And I think that's why we have not seen her face in the live action, because they'll probably reveal that in season 2. Now, don't listen to this if you don't want to be spoiled, if you don't know, but in the comics, she has an ape-like face and very hairy arms, which goes back in line with her mother, it would seem. So they may be doing that again for this live action, which is why we haven't seen her face yet. So like I mentioned, in the comics, she is not Niles' daughter. She was born and then given up for adoption by her mother, and she ended up living with some people in the Midwest, and then she ends up getting on the Doom Patrol team. And her character actually debuts in 1988. So she came closer to the 90s. So she's not like part of the original like roster of Doom Patrol, of course, but she does end up on the team for a while, and she has a few major plot lines that she goes through with a variety of characters. So yeah, I think we'll see that. But in this particular one, she's very young, so we'll see how that goes. And I think it's very interesting that they made it so that she is Niles' daughter. So in terms of a season wrap-up, I just have to say I have truly enjoyed this show. I think so far this is my favorite DC Universe show. This may be honestly my favorite DC series so far, and I say that as a Flash fan. For the next season, I hope to see the team working together more. Maybe they go on more missions and we get to see them kind of play off of each other. But I think I did enjoy the structure of this season 1, where there was like one major thing that they were dealing with all season. I think that works for them when you have 15 episodes and it's chock full of everything. I think trying to make it so that it's a monster of the week or a villain of the week sort of thing would make it too discombobulated. So I like the fact that they did this, and hopefully maybe season 2 is kind of similar in the sense of there being one major thing that they're trying to do, and within that there's little plot lines. I think that works the best for them, so I'm looking forward to that. And I do kind of hope that they work it out with Niles, because what we saw in the flashbacks of this episode in particular was that he wasn't doing it necessarily to be evil. Yes, he had this sort of idea that they were casualties in a way, lab rats initially, for what he really wanted to do, which was be there for his daughter in terms of immortality. But I also think in a way that it was also showed that even if that was initially the case, he came to love them like family. And people can change. Characters can change. And I know it's going to be a hard journey for all of them to get back to the place where they can trust each other again, or more so that they can trust Niles. But maybe that'll be part of season 2. I kind of hope, because I like the family dynamic between them. It's kind of nice when they all get... And that just shows the quality of the writing of this show, that you actually care about that aspect of a superhero show. Sometimes The Flash does that too, or used to do that. But yeah, they really make it so you're actually happy when all of them are just getting along, because there's so much dysfunction. So when they have those moments when they're all just kind of nice to each other, you're like, oh, this is nice. My one prediction is I do think that if they do show Dorothy's second power, which is to bring beings back from a different realm or plane of existence, that she will be the one to bring back Mr. Nobody and Beard Hunter. I don't think this is the last that we've seen of Mr. Nobody. It just can't be. I love that actor too much. And I do think he's going to be away for a while, because we need to get away from him in the sense of he's kind of an like all powerful villain. So I think the stakes would be too repetitive if we did it again, but I do think eventually she might be the one to bring him out. I guess my only other prediction is that we will see Brotherhood of Evil, because they're kind of the main big bads, right? Next to Mr. Nobody. So I think that's the next one, the Brotherhood of Evil. It's probably going to come in season 2. Okay, y'all, so what did you think of DC Universe's Doom Patrol, the whole season finale, what we've gotten? Ezekiel, do you think Ezekiel and Whiskers are dead? What do you think about the predictions? Do you think that the Doom Patrol should forgive Niles? Let me know, comment down below. Who do you think is going to be the big bad of next season? Are you watching next season? Let me know, comment down below, and also, be sure to subscribe so that you're the first to know when I post my videos of all things horror, dark fantasy, and dark superhero. Thanks for watching, and thanks for going on this journey with me with the Doom Patrol. I really appreciate all of you. Let's get creepy together.